Greetings from Exam Heist. We have identified important exam questions. Practice these important questions 2-3 times to get 100% success in exam. Subscribe and comment, share PDF in the below comment section to get PDF of these 40 important questions. If you want to access full dump, please visit www.examheist.com. We have 24/7 support available for your doubts and exam queries. Question 1. You create 3 sensitivity labels named Sensitivity 1, Sensitivity 2, and Sensitivity 3 and perform the following actions. Publish Sensitivity 1. Create an auto-labeling policy for Sensitivity 2. You plan to create a file policy named Policy 1. In Microsoft Cloud App Security with sensitivity labels can you apply to Microsoft SharePoint Online in Policy 1? Option A, Sensitivity 1 only. Option B, Sensitivity 1, Sensitivity 2, and Sensitivity 3. Option C, Sensitivity 2 only. Option D, Sensitivity 1 and Sensitivity 2 only. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, Sensitivity 1 only. Question 2. You have a Microsoft OneDrive for Business folder that contains the files shown in the following table in Microsoft Cloud App Security. You create a file policy to automatically apply a classification. What is the effect of applying the policy? Option A, the policy will apply to only the docs and txt files. The policy will classify the files within 24 hours. Option B. The policy will apply to all the files. The policy will classify only 100 files daily. Option C. The policy will apply to only the docs files. The policy will classify only 100 files daily. Option D. The policy will apply to only the docs and txt files. The policy will classify the files immediately. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. The policy will apply to only the docs files. The policy will classify only 100 files daily. Question 3. You are implementing a data classification solution. The research department at your company requires that documents containing programming code be labeled as confidential. The department provides samples of the code from its document library. The solution must minimize administrative effort. What should you do? Option A, create a custom classifier. Option B, create a sensitive info type that uses exact data match EDM. Option C, use the source code classifier. Option D, create a sensitive info type that uses a regular expression. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, use the source code classifier. Question 4. You have a new Microsoft 365 tenant. You need to ensure that custom trainable classifiers can be created in the tenant. To which role should you be assigned to perform the configuration? Option A, Security Administrator. Option B, Security Operator. Option C, Global Administrator. Option D, Compliance Administrator. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, Global Administrator. Question 5. You need to automatically apply a sensitivity label to documents that contain information about your company's network, including computer names, IP addresses, and configuration information. Which 2 objects should you use? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Choose 2. Note: each correct selection is worth 1 point. Option A, an information protection auto-labeling policy. Option B, a custom trainable classifier. Option C, a sensitive info type that uses a regular expression. Option D, a data loss prevention DLP policy. Option E, A sensitive info type that uses keywords. Option F. A sensitivity label that has auto-labeling. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. A custom trainable classifier. Option F. A sensitivity label that has auto-labeling. Question 6. You are creating a custom trainable classifier to identify organizational product codes referenced in Microsoft 365 content. To identify 300 files to use as seed content, where should you store the seed content? Option A. A Microsoft SharePoint Online folder. Option B. A Microsoft OneDrive for Business folder. Option C. An Azure file share. Option D. Microsoft Exchange Online shared mailbox. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. A Microsoft SharePoint Online folder. Question 7. Each product group at your company must show a distinct product logo in encrypted emails instead of the standard Microsoft Office 365 logo. What should you do to create the branding templates? Option A. Create a transport rule. Option B. Create an RMS template. Option C. Run the set IRM configuration commit. Option D. Run the new OME configuration commit. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Run the new OME configuration commit. Question 8. You create a custom sensitive info type that uses exact data match EDM. You'll plan to periodically update and upload the data used for EDM. What is the maximum frequency with which the data can be uploaded? Option A. Twice per week. Option B. Twice per day. Option C. Once every 6 hours. Option D. Once every 48 hours. Option E. Twice per hour. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Twice per day. Question 9. A user reports that she can no longer access a Microsoft Excel file named Northwind Customer Data XLSX from the Cloud App Security portal. You discover the alert shown in the exhibit. You restore the file from quarantine. You need to prevent files that match the policy from being quarantined. Files that match the policy must generate an alert. What should you do? Option A. Modify the policy template. Option B. Assign the global reader role to the file owners. Option C. Exclude file matching by using a regular expression. Option D. Update the governance action. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Update the governance action. Question 10. You receive an email that contains a list of words that will be used for a sensitive information type. You need to create a file that can be used as the source of a keyword dictionary. In which format should you save the list? Option A. A JSON file that has an element for each word. Option B. An ACCDB database file that contains a table named dictionary. Option C. An XML file that contains a keyword type for each word. Option D. A CSV file that contains words separated by commas. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. A CSV file that contains words separated by commas. Question 11. You have a Microsoft 365 E15 that uses a domain named contoso.com. A user named user1 sends link-based, branded emails that are encrypted by using Microsoft Office 365 Advanced Message Encryption to the recipients shown in the following table, for which recipients can use 1. Revoke the emails. Option A. Recipient 4 only. Option B. Recipient 1 only. Option C. Recipient 1, Recipient 2, Recipient 3. and recipient 4. Option D, recipient 3 and recipient 4 only. Option E, recipient 1 and recipient 2 only. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, recipient 4 only. Question 12. You need to test Microsoft Office 365 message encryption (OME) capabilities for your company. The test must verify the following information: the acquired default template names, the encryption and decryption verification status. Which PowerShell command should you run? Option A, test client access rule. Option B, test mail flow. Option C, test OAuth connectivity. Option D, test IRM configuration. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D, test IRM configuration. Question 13. You have a Microsoft 365 tenant that uses trainable classifiers. You are creating a custom trainable classifier. You collect 300 sample file types from various geographical locations to use as seed content. Some of the file samples are encrypted. You organize the files into categories as shown in the following table. Which file categories can be used as seed content? Option A, category 2, category 3, and category 5 only. Option B, category 3 and category 5 only. Option C, category 1 and category 3 only. Option D, category 3 only. Option E, category 1, category 2, category 3, category 4, and category 5. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, category 3 and category 5 only. Question 14. You have a Microsoft 365 tenant that uses Microsoft Office 365 message encryption (OME). You need to ensure that any emails containing attachments and sent to email protected are encrypted automatically by using OME. What should you do? Option A, from the Exchange Admin Center, create a new sharing policy. Option B, from the Microsoft 365 Security Center, create a safe attachments policy. Option C, from the Exchange Admin Center, create a mail flow rule. Option D, from the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center, configure an auto-apply retention label policy. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, from the Exchange Admin Center, create a mail flow rule. Question 15. You plan to implement sensitivity labels for Microsoft Teams. You need to ensure that you can view and apply sensitivity labels to new Microsoft Teams sites. What should you do first? Option A, run the set SPO site template. Option B, create a new sensitivity label scoped to groups and sites. Option C, run the execute Azure AdLab Sync template. Option D, configure the enable MIP labels Azure Active Directory Azure AD setting. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D, configure the enable MIP labels Azure Active Directory Azure AD setting. Question 16. Your company has a Microsoft 365 tenant that uses a domain named contoso.com. The company uses Microsoft Office 365 message encryption (OME) to encrypt emails sent to users in fabricam.com. A user named user1 erroneously sends an email to email protected. You need to prevent email protected from accessing the email. What should you do? Option A, run the get message trace template. Option B, run the set OME message revocation template. Option C, instruct user 1 to delete the email from her sent items folder from Microsoft Outlook. Option D, run the new compliance search action template. Option E, Instruct user 1 to select remove external access from Microsoft Outlook on the web. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Run the set OME message revocation complete. Question 17. You have a Microsoft 365 tenant. You discover that email does not use Microsoft Office 365 message encryption, OME. You need to ensure that OME can be applied to email. What should you do first? Option A. Enable Microsoft Defender for Office 365. Option B. Activate Azure Information Protection. Option C. Activate Azure Rights Management Azure RMS. Option D. Create an Azure Key Vault. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Activate Azure Rights Management Azure RMS. Question 18. You have a Microsoft 365 tenant. You create the following: a sensitivity label and auto-labeling policy. You need to ensure that the sensitivity label is applied to all the data discovered by the auto-labeling policy. What should you do first? Option A. Enable insider risk management. Option B. Create a trainable classifier. Option C. Run the enable transport rule complete. Option D. Run the policy in simulation mode. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Run the policy in simulation mode. Question 19. You have a sensitive information type based on a trainable classifier. You aren't satisfied with the result of trainable classifier. You need to retrain the classifier. What should you use in the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center? Option A. Labels from Information Protection. Option B. Labels from Information Governance. Option C. Content Explorer from Data Classification. Option D. Content Search. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Content Explorer from Data Classification. Question 20. You receive an email that contains a list of words that will be used for a sensitive information type. You need to create a file that can be used as the source of a keyword dictionary. In which format should you save the list? Option A. A JSON file that has an element for each word. Option B. An ACCDB database file that contains a table named dictionary. Option C. An XLSX file that contains one word in each cell of the first row. Option D. A text file that has one word on each line. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. A text file that has one word on each line. Question 21. You have a Microsoft 365 tenant that uses the following sensitivity labels: confidential or internal or external. The labels are published by using a label policy named Policy 1. Users report that Microsoft Office for the web apps do not display the sensitivity button. The sensitivity button appears in Microsoft 365 apps that are installed locally. You need to ensure that the users can apply sensitivity labels to content when they use Office for the web apps. What should you do? Option A. Modify the scope of the confidential label. Option B. Modify the publishing settings of Policy 1. Option C. Enable sensitivity labels support for Office files in Microsoft SharePoint Online and OneDrive. Option D. Run the execute Azure Ad Label Sync complete. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Enable sensitivity labels support for Office files in Microsoft SharePoint Online and OneDrive. Question 22. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 tenant. You need to add a new keyword dictionary. What should you create? Option A, a trainable classifier. Option B, a sensitivity label. Option C, a sensitive info type. Option D, a retention policy. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, a sensitive info type. Question 23. You plan to implement Microsoft Office 365 Advanced Message Encryption. You need to ensure that encrypted email sent to external recipients expires after 7 days. What should you create first? Option A, a custom branding template. Option B, a remote domain in Microsoft Exchange. Option C, a mail flow rule. Option D, an SC-400 version 3 certificate. Option E, a connector in Microsoft Exchange. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, a custom branding template. Question 24. You need to be alerted when users share sensitive documents from Microsoft OneDrive to any users outside your company. What should you do? Option A, from the Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal, start a data investigation. Option B, from the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps Portal, create a file policy. Option C, from the Azure Active Directory Admin Center, configure an identity protection policy. Option D, from the Exchange Admin Center, create a data loss prevention DLP policy. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, from the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps Portal, create a file policy. Question 25. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription that uses Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. You need to ensure that you receive an alert when a user uploads a document to a third-party cloud storage service. What should you use? Option A, an insider risk policy. Option B, a file policy. Option C, a sensitivity label. Option D, an activity policy. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, a file policy. Question 26. Note: this question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription. You need to identify resumes that are stored in the subscription by using a built-in trainable classifier solution. You create an auto-labeling policy for a retention label. Does this meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, no. Question 27. Note: this question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription. You need to identify resumes that are stored in the subscription by using a built-in trainable classifier solution. You create an auto-labeling policy for a sensitivity label. Does this meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, yes. Question 28. Note: this question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription. You need to identify resumes that are stored in the subscription by using a built-in trainable classifier solution. You create a data loss prevention DLP policy. Does this meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, no. Question 29. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription. You need to ensure that encrypted email messages sent to an external recipient can be revoked or will expire within 7 days. What should you configure first? Option A, a custom branding template. Option B, a mail flow rule. Option C, a conditional access policy. Option D, a sensitivity label. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, a custom branding template. Question 30. You have a Microsoft 365 team that has data loss prevention DLP policies. You need to review DLP policy matches for the tenant. What should you use? Option A, Content Explorer. Option B, Activity Explorer. Option C, Compliance Manager. Option D, Records Management Events. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, Content Explorer. Question 31. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription that contains two users named User 1 and User 2. On January 1, you create the sensitivity label shown in the following table. On January 2, you publish label 1 to User 1. On January 3, User 1 creates a Microsoft Word document named Doc and applies label to the document. On January 4, User 2 edits Doc 1. On January 15, you increase the content expiry period for label 1 to 28 days. When will access to Doc 1 expire for User 2? Option A, January 23. Option B, January 24. Option C, January 25. Option D, January 31. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D, January 31. Question 32. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 team that contains a user named User 1. User 1 is assigned the compliance administrator. User 1 cannot view the regular expression in the IP address sensitive info type. You need to ensure that User 1 can view the regular expression. What should you do? Option A, assign User 1 the global reader role. Option B, assign User 1 to the reviewer role group. Option C, instruct User 2 use the test function on the sensitive info type. Option D, create a copy of the IP address sensitive info type and instruct User 1 to edit the copy. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Create a copy of the IP address sensitive info type and instruct User 1 to edit the copy. Question 33. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription. You need to ensure that any message or document containing a credit card number is deleted automatically 12 months after it was created. The solution must minimize administrative effort. Which two components should you create? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Note: each correct selection is worth 1 point. Option A, a sensitivity label. Option B, an auto-labeling policy for a sensitivity label. Option C, a retention label. Option D, an auto-labeling policy for a retention label. Option E, a sensitive information type SIT. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, a retention label. Option D, an auto-labeling policy for a retention label. Question 34. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription. You create a new trainable classifier. You need to train the classifier. Which source can you use to train the classifier? Option A, a Microsoft SharePoint online site. Option B, an on-premises Microsoft SharePoint server site. Option C, an NFS file share. Option D, an Azure files share. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, a Microsoft SharePoint online site. Question 35. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription that contains 100 users, and a Microsoft 365 group named Group 1. All users have Windows 10 devices and use Microsoft SharePoint Online and Exchange Online. A sensitivity label named Label 1 is published as the default label for Group 1. You add two sublabels named Sublabel 1 and Sublabel 2 to Label 1. You need to ensure that the settings in Sublabel 1 are applied by default to Group 1. What should you do? Option A, change the order of Sublabel 1. Option B, modify the policy of Label 1. Option C, delete the policy of Label 1 and publish Sublabel 1. Option D, duplicate all the settings from Sublabel 1 to Label 1. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B, modify the policy of Label 1. Question 36. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription that has the trainable classifiers shown in the following table. Which trainable classifiers can you retrain? Option A, classifier 1 only. Option B, agreements and classifier 1 only. Option C, classifier 1 and classifier 2 only. Option D, agreements, finance, classifier 1 and classifier 2. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C, classifier 1 and classifier 2 only. Question 37. You have a Microsoft 365 alert named Alert 2 as shown in the following exhibit. You need to manage the status of Alert 2. To which status can you change Alert 2? Option A, the status cannot be changed. Option B, dismissed only. Option C, investigating only. Option D, active or investigating only. Option E, investigating, active, or dismissed. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, the status cannot be changed. Question 38. You have a Microsoft SharePoint online site named Site 1 that contains a document library. The library contains more than 1,000 documents. Some of the documents are job applicant resumes. All the documents are in the English language. You plan to apply a sensitivity label automatically to any document identified as a resume. Only documents that contain work experience, education, and accomplishments must be labeled automatically. You need to identify and categorize the resumes. The solution must minimize administrative effort. What should you include in the solution? Option A, a trainable classifier. Option B, an exact data match EDM classifier. Option C, a function. Option D, a keyword dictionary. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A, a trainable classifier. Question 39. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription that contains a Microsoft 365 group named Group 1. Group 1 contains 100 users and has dynamic user membership. All users have Windows 10 devices and use Microsoft SharePoint Online and Exchange Online. You create a sensitivity label named Label 1 and publish Label 1 as the default label for Group 1. You need to ensure that the users in group must apply Label 1 to their email and documents. Which two actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Note: each correct selection is worth 1 point. Option A from the Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal. Create an auto-labeling policy. Option B. Install the Active Directory Rights Management Services (ADRMS) client on the Windows 10 devices. Option C. From the Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal. Modify the settings of the Label 1 policy. Option D. Install the Azure Information Protection Unified Labeling Client on the Windows 10 devices. Option E. From the Microsoft Entra Admin Center. Set membership type for Group 1 to assigned. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option C. From the Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal. Modify the settings of the Label 1 policy. Option D. Install the Azure Information Protection Unified Labeling Client on the Windows 10 devices. Question 40. Note: this question is part of a series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. You implement Microsoft 365 Endpoint Data Loss Prevention Endpoint DLP. You have computers that run Windows 10 and have Microsoft 365 apps installed. The computers are joined to Azure Active Directory Azure AD. You need to ensure that Endpoint DLP policies can protect content on the computer's solution. You onboard the computers to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. Does this meet the goal? Option A, yes. Option B, no. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A, yes.